Good morning, Beacon, and welcome. Welcome to this Unitarian Universalist congregation in Summit, New Jersey, on the land of the Lenni Lenape. I'm Helen Kerr, she, her, and I'd like to invite you, if you're with us online, to please give us your name in the chat. Also, if this is your first Sunday with us, you can come up after this service and meet with Dick Muldoon, and he'll take you on a brief tour of our space. After this service, we're going to have coffee hour upstairs on the Bumbaugh balcony. And after the second service, we invite you to 695 Springfield Avenue, because we're going to dedicate our labyrinth. That's your handiwork, isn't it? Yeah. Okay. This morning marks an annual rite of passage when our fifth graders share their beliefs and values, their evolving beliefs and values. So for a moment, think about your evolving beliefs and values and what still brings you wonder and meaning, light and enlightenment. What are you still trying to understand? That's what we're going to explore a bit. And I want to thank you for bringing your light here today so that together we can magnify the light.
Good morning. We are going to start by singing hymn 1017, which is Building a New Way. And we're going to try singing it a new way. So to start with, I think that we think about the room as helpful to our instruments, because we're all carrying around our musical instrument, and that is our own voices. So we're going to all try playing our own instrument. And I'm going to invite you to sing what we call a drone, which is a pitch, and then I'll add a second pitch, and we just continue to sing that. And I'm going to sing this first verse as you continue the droning sound. So John, would you be able to play a B? So I just invite some people to just sing like this. And then some people can go off on another note and sing this. Just continue to do that. It's like the beautiful sound is kind of echoing off of the ceiling and then bouncing back down. We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way. Feeling stronger every day. We are building a new way. I invite you to stand in body or spirit and join in singing from the top. Here we go. We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way, feeling stronger every day. We are building a new way.
heavy rock spirit of life and now building a new way? I can't wait for what's next, John and Misa. Beloved, imagine with me this symbol, the strength of this symbol. First used in the 1930s to signal safety to refugees. The strength of a symbol, the chalice, to save lives. Used again when two faiths came together, when so many said it couldn't be done, to work beyond belief, to gather according to behavior, to how we would live together in this world. Wonder with me at the power of this symbol of a flame that has been kindled again and again across the ages.
Good morning, everybody. Morning. Hi, I'm Tuli. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm so excited this morning to be bringing to you our fifth grade rite of passage. The fifth graders are going to actually speak at 11 o'clock, but we're going to tell you a little bit about how we got there, and each one of you has a booklet that shows what they wrote out. So in our lifespan programs, we say we're committed to raising confident, compassionate, and resilient youth and children. I was thinking this morning, what gestures could I make to represent confident? Anybody have ideas? Like that, like confidence? How about compassion? What would compassion look like? Like this? And how about resilient? I was thinking of bubbles. Maybe like bubbles in fizzy water. I mean, they do rise.
They do
Yeah,
rise.
okay, here we go. So all right. Our fifth grade rite of passage is the formal beginning of a lifelong journey of thinking about and clarifying your values and your beliefs. Helen talked about this a little bit, and Robin is going to talk about it a little bit better. So how do we get there? We have two workshops. The first of which is a fundraiser where we sell off values. In the old days, you might have called that an auction, but we're trying to move away from that language. So it's a fundraiser where we sell off values. So let me ask you, if I had to sell you being a best friend versus being honest, which one would you bid on and buy? Okay, let's go. How many want friendship, being a best friend? More than honesty. You can lie to your best friend. Right? I'm just saying. How about being honest? No, sorry, we already did honesty. How about playing video games? Some hands playing. There you go. I see some hands going up. Versus the freedom to make my own choices. Oh, but then you don't have the freedom to play video games, right? Maybe. How about practicing my own religion? This one never gets any bids. And we're doing it in a church. Practicing my own religion versus giving back to the community. Oh, that's a tough one, right? Both tied. Okay, so that's our first workshop. Our second workshop, we talk about all the events in our lives which we have control over and which we don't have control over. I'm basically giving away the whole program right now. So somebody tell me, what is something in your life that you have had control over? Go ahead, Naomi. What you can do when you decide to go somewhere, like I want to see the Tower of London and not Buckingham Palace. Yes, that is in your control. How about things that you don't have control over? Sammy? You do not have control of when or how you will die. Yes, this is true. Can we have a less macabre, not in your control, because there are little people in the room? Yes. If or when you get grandchildren, what a bonus, right? So not in our control. So then what we ask our kids to do is think about all the things that are in their control, where you decide to go, perhaps the kinds of clothes you wear, perhaps how you talk to somebody, and think about whether those things are connected to Unitarian Universalist principles. And so they think about that a little bit. And then you have a fifth grade rite of passage. Whoopee, done.
And the thing is the kids break it down in so many crystal clear ways, like Paolo Mondesir Kelly, who talks about not polluting. Something as simple as not polluting. That's a choice. Or Jocelyn Hoyos that reminds us that there's no quid pro quo in being kind. Either you do it without response, or you don't. Or you find someone like Graham who speaks about fairness. Caitlin Friedman tells us that each and every one of us has human dignity and has to be treated as such. And finally, Alexander Contract reminds us that we all have a connection to the earth, whether we believe it or not, or practice it. So we invite you to consider these questions yourself. Which of our 8 principles, if there's one that screams out loudest for you, resonates with you? And are you living it? It might sound good and feel good, but are you acting on it? Are you paying it lip service? So our hope is that we remain open to what we discover about ourselves through this process, because this is a lifelong journey. We introduce this to them at this age and hope that by the time they're sitting here as adults, listening and experiencing their time with them, that you will have done this many times over, because as you go through life, things will change. And we hope that you stand strong in whatever decisions that you come with, even if they may be uncomfortable and require changes from you that you may not be ready for. But that's why we do this, and that's called maturing in faith. And we wish that to all of you. Thank you.
And if you want to hear our fifth graders, you should stick around for the second service. Have some coffee and then come back. It's a quick 30 minutes. Thank you.
Invite forward Mary Lee for the candle lighting.
Okay. If you are the owner of a maroon Subaru Forester, it's blocking a driveway. Please, would you move it? Thank you so much.
Good morning, Beacon. My name is Mary Lee Crawley, and my pronouns are she and her, and I'm a chaplain here at Beacon. Chaplains extend the spiritual care of our community. It's in one ritual of our spiritual care is our candle lighting. Together we light candles of sorrow, gratitude, and joy. And this morning, we light a candle of gratitude for the beautiful greens and the beauty of this space created by the wonderful elves that appeared last night. Thank you so much. And we also light a candle of gratitude for the recent bipartisan congressional passing of the Respect for Marriage Act. A small but important step forward to national recognition that love is love. For this and so much more, we invite you to come forward and light a candle in our sanctuary or wherever you are.
I kind of thought I'd get tangled in this. Okay. That we should be at all. That's really some kind of miracle, wouldn't you say? And you'd think that it would leave us in a constant state of wonder. But we can't live in a constant state of wonder. So it's good to set aside moments like these when we are together to remember it and marvel. I invite you now, whether you are here or at home, to join in a meditation, first spoken and then silent. If you want to participate, you may want to sit up straight in your chairs, put your feet flat on the floor, and start to relax your breathing. Rest your hands comfortably in your laps, and you may want to close your eyes. Now, take a long, easy breath all the way down to your belly. Hold it gently, then slowly exhale. As you continue to breathe in this way, starting from the crown of your head, relax any tension in your forehead, around the delicate skin, around your eyes and mouth, your jaw. Release any tightness you are holding in your throat and chest. Soften the muscles in your torso and limbs, your feet and fingers. As you sit resting, imagine you can feel your body replacing atoms, taking them from whatever you have eaten to recreate you. Imagine you can feel this patient, meticulous process that in 5 years replaces almost every atom. How is it possible that every day when you wake up, you are still you? Think how old you are now, and how many yous you have been, always changing, yet the same. Are you 10 or 11? Then you have already finished your second you. Are you 70? Then you are a miracle of ongoing rebirth 7 times over. Do you remember what you ate 3 weeks ago? Probably not. But now, how is it that it remembers you? Bring yourself back slowly, gently into the room and into this service.
I'm going to do a song by Ali Halpert. It's called Loosen, Loosen, and it is something that Unitarian youth across the country have been learning and singing in their gatherings. Loosen, loosen, baby, you don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go, let go. Loosen, loosen, baby. You don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go, let go. Holy breath and holy name. Will you ease this pain? Holy breath and holy name. Will you ease this pain? Loosen, loosen, baby. You don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go, let go. Loosen, loosen, baby. You don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go, let go. Holy breath and holy name. Will you ease this pain? Holy breath and holy name. Will you ease this pain? Loosen, loosen, baby. You don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go, let go. Let go, let go, let go. Let go, let go, let go. Let go, let go, let go.
This is the second Sunday of 3 for a special plate collection for 4 organizations, all working to alleviate hunger and homelessness. SHIP, Summit Helping Its People, Summit Warm Hearts, which is a program of the Summit Interfaith Council, First Unitarian Food Pantry, and Grace. And Suzanne Wagner is here to share with us a bit about Grace this Sunday.
Good morning. My name is Suzanne Wagner, and not only am I a member here at Beacon, but I'm also a core volunteer with Grace. I first learned about Grace and the work they do through a talk much like this at Beacon. But it wasn't until 8 months ago that I started volunteering. I made the decision to bring my daughter to Grace to give back to the community in a more meaningful way. As my daughter and I were leaving Grace that night, she turned to me and said, "Mom, I had no idea that so many people in Summit needed help." That night, I fell in love with Grace and decided that this was not a one-time event, but Grace will be a part of my life for a long while. Since that night, I have only missed a few Thursday nights. Grace stands for Giving, Receiving, Accessing Community Essentials. When many people in Summit think about Grace, they think of it as a food pantry that distributes food at Coronach Fieldhouse on Thursday nights. This is just a part of what Grace does. Grace meets community needs with community resources to enable the good health and success of our vulnerable and underserved neighbors. Some of the community resources that Grace provides to our community are assistance with SNAP benefits, connecting with heating assistance, assisting in driver's license, medical screenings, dental screenings, and an annual flu shot clinic. This year, we also provided over 400 coats to children and adults and children in the community through our coat drive. Our weekly distribution, which occurs on Thursdays, provides family with fresh produce, milks, egg, bread, toilet paper, and shelf-stable food items. In addition, we provide families with diapers, cleaning projects, hygiene items, feminine hygiene products, and upon request, pet food and laundry detergent. We really strive to meet any need that one of our families comes to us with. And we do that through sourcing through the community. Each week, we distribute 16,000 pounds of food and have never missed a week of distribution, even with hurricane, snowstorms, or COVID. During the first 3 months of COVID, our families increased over 500%. Currently, we are providing goods for over 500 families a week, with our record being 642 families just 2 weeks ago. 75% of the families we serve are from Summit, and the other 25% come from other communities in the area. Thursday nights at Coronach are filled with joy and appreciation. The look on a child's face when they get a new winter coat, to the appreciation expressed by every person that comes through the line when they get the essentials they need each week, and the looks on the volunteers' faces as we go through the night are just a part of what keeps me going back week after week. The work that Grace does is an essential part of the community, and as one woman put it on Thursday night, Grace is keeping my family alive.
Thank you, Suzanne, and thank you, beloved, for your generosity. Our morning offering will now be most gratefully received.
Would you please stand as you are able and join in singing hymn 1010, We Give Thanks. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day, for all gathered here and thus far away, for this time we share with love and care. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day, for all gathered here and thus far away, for this time we share with love and care. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day.
We have two readings this morning, and the first one comes from Ta-Nehisi Coates. I remembered that once as a child, I was filled with wonder that I had marveled at trifolded science projects, encyclopedias, and road atlases. I left much of that wonder somewhere back in Baltimore. Now I had the privilege of welcoming it back like a long-lost friend, though our reunion was laced with grief. I mourned over all the years that were lost. The mourning continues. Even today, from time to time, on beaches watching 6-year-olds learn to surf, or at colleges listening to sophomores slip from English to Italian, or at cafes seeing young poets flip through the wasteland, or listening to the radio where economists explain economic things that I could have explored in my lost years. I find myself mourning, hoping that I and all my wonder, my long-lost friend, have not yet run out of time. Though I know that we all run out of time, and some of us run out of it faster. And this one is from Cynthia Rylant, a poem, God Went to Beauty School. He went there to learn how to give a good perm and ended up just crazy about nails. So he opened his own shop. Nails by Jim, he called it. He was afraid to call it Nails by God. He was sure people would think he was being disrespectful and using his own name in vain, and nobody would tip. He got into nails, of course, because he always loved hands. Hands were some of the best things he'd ever done. And this way, he could just hold one in his and admire those delicate bones just above the knuckles, delicate as bird wings. And after he'd done that a while, he could paint all the nails any color he wanted, then say, beautiful, and mean it.
I've learned a lot about how I think about wonder, of course, from my children, particularly when they have been younger. We have Ariana, who loves to find the moon. And this time of year, when we get her from aftercare at preschool, the moon is usually out. And she will exclaim, as if it's the first time she's ever seen the moon, every night, "Moon!" It's a little startling the first couple of times it happens. And then you kind of get used to it, but she never does. And all the ride home, she keeps searching for the moon because it moves as we drive. And then there's Benjamin, who just started preschool after being out for the entire duration of the first part of the pandemic because of his asthma, and now is experiencing nap time. At our dinner table, we go round at the end of each day and say what our high was and what our low was. We picked it up from youth group here at Beacon. And the kids really get into it. In fact, they raise their hands as fast as they can to be the first one to share their high and low. Well, the first day after preschool, Benjamin said that his high was that he got to take a nap. And a week later, he raised his hand again for highs and lows, and he said his high was that they still let him take naps. Imagine that kind of wonder, right? Every morning I still get to drink coffee. But my toughest lesson in wonder came in the form of a young Catholic priest who was very different than myself. It was 2009, and I had just graduated seminary, and so I was feeling very confident. What was that motion that we did for confidence? Thank you, David. I was feeling very confident. I moved out to Albuquerque, New Mexico from Boston, Massachusetts, where I was part of a residency and chaplaincy program. What it meant was that you were with a small group of students, all studying how to be a chaplain in a year-long program. Now, a lot of the program was the time that you spent with patients and reflecting on that with your supervisor, but a fair amount of it was actually the dynamic in that group of students. And we were all chosen with great intention. There had to be a certain amount of religious diversity, life experience in these cohorts. We were asked to bring our hardest situations, our toughest calls to the group, to reflect on our feelings during the program, and to learn how to support one another. We had 2 instructors. Our first instructor, Jenny Lanham, was about as Southern as you could get. I learned great phrases from her in my time in the program, like that pie was so good it made you want to slap your mama. Still don't understand that one, but that's okay. She had bright red hair and she loved cows. I mean, that's like an understatement. And there were little porcelain cows or hand-sewn cows or stitched pictures of cows all over her office. Stephen Goss, our other instructor, was 180 degrees different than Jenny. Reserved, very measured in his speech. His office was always perfectly assembled, just as the hair on his head was. Over the first few weeks of the program, it was clear that I was not getting along with one of the other students, a young man named Robert, who was studying to be a Catholic priest. He was very conservative, had lots of opinions that he delivered as facts, and he didn't tend to like me. Hard to believe. The tension got worse and worse in our group over the ensuing weeks, so much so that our central class time together, interpersonal relationships, was anything but developing interpersonal relationship. He really didn't like when I baptized a baby whose family was Catholic one night because the priest couldn't get there. And the child was ill and the family was beside themselves with worry and anxiety, and there was no one else, and so I baptized the baby. The child lived, thankfully, and the parents were much relieved for having that baptism. It seemed to Robert, though, in our reflection of the incident, that I made a clear mistake because the child had lived and could have waited to be baptized by the appropriate priest. Needless to say, our conversations did not go well after that one. Finally, sometime near Christmas, Jenny Lanham pulled me into her office to talk about the situation. "Now, Robin," she said, "you're just about to pound that Robert into the ground. It's not fair when a raccoon gets a hold of a chicken." Who's the chicken? I averted her gaze, still trying to make sense of the metaphor, and found myself staring face to face with a cow. "I want you to try some pastoral curiosity, young lady. Holy curiosity with that man. Ask yourself about him." Like why he lacks compassion? How he became so uncaring? Why he has committed to stupid, arbitrary rules that get in the way of being human? Not those questions, dear. I want you to really try. I expect you to try. In fact, you have to try. Jenny rarely put her foot down and made an absolute rule. The only other absolute rule she had was that you had to wash your hands before you went to see a patient. So I knew that this was serious. It was not easy. I even enlisted my friend Jamie, who was a fellow chaplain, to try and help me, but I just kept coming up against a wall of judgment against Robert. One day, I was coming in late to take over a shift from him, and I was all anxious because I knew he was going to be angry with me for being late, and he was just going to give it to me as soon as I found him. When I went down into the office, one of the staff chaplains explained that Robert was in the NICU, which was a little baffling to me because if someone was late to take on your shift, you'd usually go to the sleep room. After doing an overnight, you'd want to get as much rest as you could. Was there a call to the NICU? No, I don't think so. All right. So I went upstairs, just bracing myself for being yelled at as soon as I saw Robert. And that was when I found him. After 12 hours of working what had been a very hard shift with many, many hard calls, Robert was in the NICU holding a baby who needed holding. Wow. That didn't fit any of my narrative. I stood at the corner for a while and just watched him rocking this tiny little infant with all of the wires and monitors attached to her. It was a small opening, a big opening that helped me learn how to love Robert. It was not easy after that, but it was an opening. Like Ta-Nehisi Coates describes, to gather back that childhood wonder, to move past my own determined conclusions about Robert's character and abilities and my certitude of how right I was in all that I stood for. But past all of that, I discovered over the rest of the year was a real human that I had nearly missed. Our small groups this month on the theme of wonder, you will be asking each other, is it possible to love someone without being in some way in awe of them? Is it possible to love someone without in some way being in awe of them? It's easy to take folks for granted, isn't it, in our daily lives? For those who maintain long-term relationships, friendships across decades, membership here at Beacon or in another institution or group, marriages for 20, 30, 40 years, cousins who call each other each week, it's hard to stay in awe of one another. They say contempt kills relationships, and I do believe this, I suppose because it cuts off connection, and because it makes awe impossible. In the words of Valerie Kaur, joy is the gift of love, grief is the price of love, anger protects that which is loved, and when we think we have reached our limit, wonder is the act that returns us to love. Driving home the other day from a doctor's appointment with Benjamin, I was pretty exhausted. He's been sick, on again and off again, having been back in preschool for the first time. Every, not COVID, thank goodness, virus has come into our house. And he has asthma. So the smallest of colds that the rest of us would kick off can really activate his asthma. He's on 2 new inhalers and now a course of steroids that make him terribly cranky. In fact, he often is yelling at me to stop talking to me. It makes wonder hard to find. So he had just yelled at me again. I don't remember why. He was in a miserable mood. And I was just gripping the steering wheel, counting down the minutes until I could pull into the driveway and get into a different room than the vehicle with him. It started to rain. Great. And that's when, as we drove past a cemetery, Benjamin said, "Honey, that's a lot of dead people." Sure is, I said. But that's just their bodies. Their souls go somewhere else. Honey, where do their souls go? I get ready for a big discussion, right? This is my moment that I've waited for. Well, I said, different people believe different things. Can you just tell me? Tell me, where do their souls go? I think maybe they're all around, Benjamin. Oh, yeah, Like at Beacon, when we sing and we say, please rise in body and in spirit, is that the souls rising? Maybe it is, Benjamin. Maybe it is. There's a story of a rabbi, perhaps you've heard before, who's preaching at the Bema, and his young son is just fussing every time he hears his voice, trying to clamor for him. And the rabbi keeps trying to get through the sermon and pretty soon realizes it's not going to happen as long as there is any distance between he and his son. So he walks down and picks the young boy up and continues the sermon. And as he does so, the boy starts to pull on his tie and then starts to tousle his hair, and then at last grabs the rabbi's glasses and throws them to the ground. And the congregation kind of, smiles and chuckles, but wonders, what is he going to do next? And being unable to read his text, the rabbi looks out to the congregation and says, at what age do we stop being able to look at one another with wonder, with kindness, with generosity? At what age? 5 years old? 10 years old? 20? 37? 62? When are we suddenly unlovable? How to bring wonder to a person at any age? Can you find the smallest of entry points, most especially with those that you encounter every day? Our fifth graders help me to remember how to take our principles anew, how to stay in love with Unitarian Universalism, filling my reading of worn words with wonder. I love the way Cynthia Rylant takes on a whole new wondering at God in her poem, When God Opens a Nail. Imagine God being able to wonder at our hands. It brings me a measure of peace. And when she wrote that, it was a risk. She was a children's book author. And she took on an entire compilation of poems where God does all manner of ridiculous things. She risked, really, her following and the possibility that folks would not buy her books anymore. Most people loved it. I'm sure a good deal of you have read this story, which I promise not to read because then we'll all be crying. Love You Forever? You know this book? Now, it's a tearjerker, yes, but I think what makes it so astounding is the tenacity of this mother and son to find something in one another, to keep wondering at, to keep loving. The book takes us through all manner of ages and stages, and they refuse to let one another be the sum of a stereotype: the toddler years, the teenager, the middle-aged mother, the confused aging parent. They refuse to stop wondering at each other almost as a ritual, as an act of worship, to consider what is of worth. Singing again and again, I'll love you forever, I'll like you as long as I'm living, my baby you'll be. Always worthy of wonder, and by consequence, the holy curiosity. Wonder, our path to sustaining love with friends, with communities, with lovers, with our children. So may you wonder at the world, at one another, at the moon each night as if it were the first, at the infants we each were once, at the holy still within us, at the people we are yet becoming, at the story untold, the tilt of light, the new way to receive well-worn words. How to welcome the holy in the strangest of vessels, in these days of wonderment.
Thank you for bringing your music, John. Thank you to our AV team of Samir and Will. Thank you for our ushers and greeters and everyone who helped lead the service today. I invite you to stand in body or spirit or soul to sing our closing hymn, Blue Boat Home, which is 1064. Though below me I feel no motion, standing on these mountains and plains, far away from the rolling ocean, still my dry land heart can say, I've been sailing all my life now, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home. Sun, my sail, and moon, my rudder, as I ply the starry sea, leaning over the edge in wonder, casting questions into the deep, drifting here with my ship's companions, all we kindred pilgrim souls, making our way by the lights of the heavens and our beautiful blue boat home. I give thanks to the waves upholding me, hail the great winds urging me on, greet the infinite sea before me, sing the sky my sailor song. I was born upon the fathoms, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat
Take hands with one another as you're able. And as you do, notice those delicate bones just above the knuckle, as delicate as bird wings. And if you would, look to one another and say beautiful. You are. Beautiful you are. May you go out into the world in the days to come to continue to wonder at the beauty within all whom you encounter, at the beauty in our very blue boat home.
Hi. Good? Yeah, how are you? Good. Are you busy? No.